Hello my beautiful Fumi Nation, how are you? How are we? My name is Fumidesaluvold. For those of you that are stopping by for the very first time, you guys are so very welcome indeed. Any opportunity that I get to talk about Shanquella, about the case, I will bring it forth. In so doing, let me take the time to thank Fumi Nation. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love your vigor. I love your passion. I love your dedication because it's been 4 months and counting. And I applaud you. And I wish that the Robinson family could know all of you. I know you behind the scenes. But really, thank you because you make it easier for me. There were 2 episodes. One with Suan Robinson and Shanquella's mother on Court TV. I live in London, and when I clicked onto it, it didn't show here. I wasn't able to get it. But there was another episode with Suan Robinson, and she was talking to Fox Souls Black, and it was a very informative, because a lot of you ask in the comments, what is the holdup? Why aren't they extradited, the Cabo 6 that is, to Mexico? Why can't they be brought here? What is going on with the family? How is the family coping? And I wanted to share this with you because I thought this was a nice, even-keeled interview. I get very passionate, I get very emotional, so I'm talking and I'm not listening as much. This interview, I sat back and I listened. And I said, aha, okay, this is good. I want to also take the time to give Suan Robinson her flowers. Fantastic job that you are doing for the Robinson family. We see you. She is on top of it. She's a beast out there in social media. She's everywhere. She's everywhere. And I love the way she expresses herself. And she talks about Shanquella with empathy and with so much love and passion. And she really humanizes her. And the Robinson family could never have had anybody as good as Suan Robinson. Suan had mentioned that the Robinson family are not used to all of this. They've been thrust into social media and all of this because they're trying to find justice for their daughter. And I just thought about it, you know, that her clothes will still be in the closet, her bed not slept in, her books, her shoes. I think it's easier when somebody is sick, you know, you're prepared for it. When somebody's in an accident, it's shocking, but you digest it. But for somebody to be beaten to death, it's not something you come across, you know. And I asked myself, how did she know these people? Did she know 1 or 2 of them? You know, how could she not have seen this? And yet I refer to me, and I know for me, it happened to you. You did not see it, so why would she? I just asked myself questions about her, you know, because as time has gone by, she really is and has been humanized. As terrible a thing that happened to her, she was a living, breathing human being in a community. And we have to continue praying for Shanquella's mother, for the father. You have to pray for the sister as well, for the community that's fighting for her in Charlotte, for all of her friends that loved her and miss her. You know, there are a lot of people suffering. There are a lot of people suffering because of the absence of Shanquella from their lives. So go ahead and listen to this, the audio, and then you can also watch the clip if you want to below. I had done a previous episode where I had talked about the representative at the White House, and I felt she was insensitive. And a lot of you said, Fumi, I listened to the audio and there was nothing wrong with it. And you are absolutely right. There was nothing with her tone. It was how she came across, her facial gestures. And I'll put that link down below again because I watched it. And because it's from another network, I cannot put it onto my channel, you see. I can only put the audio. So if I did not explain myself properly, because I do that often enough, because some of you are just comfortable getting all of the information and you don't have time to go for links or whatever. So I put everything here in one place for you, and I do it often enough. I wasn't referring to how she was sounding. I was referring to how she was gesticulating with her face, with her eyes, as she was asked these questions in the White House. And it's very healthy for you to disagree with me. This is not you must agree with me kind of channel. It's a healthy conversation where we agree to disagree, and that is fine. Your opinion is important to me. I like to hear what you have to say, and I love the way you express yourselves and tell me that, oh, Fumi, I love you, but I disagree with you on this. That's what it's all about. So go ahead and listen to Sue Ann Robinson, who is a huge asset for the Robinson family. I give you my flowers, Sue Ann. I can only imagine the research and the hours that's taken away from your two beautiful daughters, from your family, because you're so dedicated to getting to the bottom of this. And listen to it, really listen to it, and it will answer all of your questions. If not all, a good majority of your questions. Thank you so very much, guys. Like I say, don't forget to like, to subscribe, to hit the notification button. Above all else, when it comes to Shanquella Robinson episodes, share, because this is the only way that we will keep it alive and above. And Sue Ann had said that the family really, thanks those that are doing this and are sharing authentic information. This is from the horse's mouth. So share it and share it, because it takes just one person in a position to do something, to say, all right, let's do this. That's all we're asking for. Thank you, my darlings, and I will see you sooner than later. For those of you that are asking, this is a dress, and it's a top, see, and it's sewn in, and then it's a different pattern, so you can wear like a belt, with it and everything. And yeah, that's it. I've been eating my vegetables, trying to flatten my tummy, but it's there, and it's a lovely dress. I love it so much, and it has a zip on the side, so that's how you put it on. Okay, now I can't get it up. I gotta go. Bye.
Hey, Griot fam, it's Jared Keith Gaynor, White House correspondent and managing editor of politics at The Griot, and I'm here with Sue Ann Robinson, Esquire, who is the attorney representing the family of Shanquella Robinson. Sue Ann, welcome to The Griot. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You and attorney Ben Crump, on behalf of the family of Shanquella Robinson, recently sent a letter to President Biden and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, asking for the U.S. yet again to intervene in the murder of Shanquella Robinson. There has not been an arrest yet, and those who were with her in Mexico, as been reported, are still free and in the U.S. Why was it important for you and attorney Ben Crump, on behalf of the family, to continue this push through via letter for them to intervene in this case?
We wrote the letter so that we could close the gap on the administration's ability to say we didn't know about the case, we hadn't heard about the case, we can't intervene because we don't know what the ask is. So writing the letter and detailing specifically what the ask is, and obviously the background of the case, closes that gap for the administration to make that claim, and hopefully is a flag to let them know that they need to intervene in this case. I remember Natalie Holloway's case very vividly, a very emotional case. Every single day in the press briefings, her name was brought up in the press briefings. What's happening in her case? What's the administration's position on the case? And so our position is Shanquella's case should be receiving the same level of attention, the same level of intervention at the highest level.
Mm-hmm. And in this letter, there are specific requests to the administration. One is to turn over the suspects in the case to Mexican authorities. The other is to request a concurrent jurisdiction. Could you briefly talk about those, and which one do you think is more likely?
Well, we're asking the government to essentially extradite who Mexico has named as who they've named in their investigative report as their main suspect. We're saying, okay, if you don't want to do concurrent jurisdiction, you can agree to the extradition, which involves the Department of State, and have this person extradited and they can be tried in Mexico. Or they can request concurrent jurisdiction with Mexican law enforcement, do their own investigation, and then prosecute the people who, based on the investigation, are found to be responsible for her death. They can be prosecuted here. So there's two options. Obviously, we know about the traditional extradition where someone commits a crime in Mexico, a Mexican national, and then they escape to the United States. And then a Mexican national is extradited back to Mexico, or vice versa. Someone, a United States citizen, commits a crime here and then goes over the border and escapes to Mexico and they're extradited back. We recognize that this case is different in that the extradition would be saying to the US to turn over American citizens to a foreign country, to Mexico. And we understand that it is unusual, but there is protocol and precedent for it. But we're saying in the alternative, if based on the political climate, the administration finds that too difficult, Department of State doesn't want to do that. We've seen in the recent case, the kidnapping case in Mexico, which is different substantively, but it does show that US law enforcement can very swiftly coordinate with Mexican law enforcement to work on a transnational case. And so that's all we're asking for them to either extradite the suspect based on the Mexican investigation or do exactly what they did in the most recent transnational criminal case involving Mexico, which is for federal law enforcement here to have concurrent jurisdiction with Mexican law enforcement and do it swiftly, because every day that's delayed in this case, unfortunately, justice delayed is going to be justice denied in this case, because every single day that passes, the evidence, the testimony, eyewitness recollection, those things dissipate day by day. And so that's really why in the letter we attach documents at all, just to say, look, this investigation occurred months ago. We're behind the ball and the ball is in your court. So we need you to act swiftly in this case.
Has the family or you as attorney for the family heard anything from the White House or State Department, even that they received the letter?
They have received the letter. And initially after our press conference in Washington, D.C., they actually requested the materials. So the letter was actually a follow-up to the press conference.
And you mentioned transnational case. Can you briefly describe what is considered a transnational case and what's the average period for these types of cases to be resolved?
Sure. A transnational case just means that it's a case involving two different countries, which have two different criminal justice systems, two different, obviously, law enforcement agencies, presidents, all the way down. And so it involves a high level of diplomatic intervention, which would mean that presidents would have to talk to presidents, heads of state would have to talk to heads of state, top law enforcement officials would have to speak to top law enforcement officials across the border in order to prioritize the case and push it through. I personally, went on a fact-finding mission in Mexico to speak to the Mexican authorities because the family was being ping-ponged between US authorities and Mexican authorities, everyone saying it's the other person. And I was assured once I was on the ground that Mexican authorities have completed their investigation, that they've submitted all that they're supposed to under the extradition treaty to the FBI and to Interpol here. And so they're essentially done what they have to do for extradition and they're waiting on the US. And so that's why we're now saying, okay, we've gotten this information from Mexico and they're saying the ball is in your court. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And obviously, at least from the media perspective, the video that was circulating on social media of Shanquella being attacked violently played a significant role in the coverage. How has that evidence impacted the case, in your opinion? And does the family have any idea what caused that violence that we saw in that video?
The video was, in fact, the game changer for the case. That changed the case for the Mexican authorities from basic reporting on a death from something that was considered alcohol poisoning to an active criminal investigation where they went back to seek out witnesses again to get statements and find out more information. Unfortunately, by the time the video came out, which was about November 15th, November 16th, the Mexican authorities saw it the same day, but the individuals, the travel mates, had already fled back to the United States the following day after Shanquella was declared deceased. So they couldn't obviously question them or keep them in custody or do anything like that to find out if, where, who, what, when, because they had already returned to the United States.
Obviously, I can only imagine as parents and family and friends who loved Shanquella Robinson, how they are in this moment. How are they coping, knowing that those involved in her death are freely walking the streets?
I think that it's very tough for them, especially for Shanquella's mother, because 3 of the travel mates initially came to her home and brought Shanquella's suitcase and offered their condolences and, you know, advised her that their daughter had passed away from alcohol poisoning. They never mentioned the video. They never mentioned that she was involved in an altercation. They never mentioned any of that. So it's very difficult to go from what you think you trusted these people that were traveling with her, what they said, and then to see a video with a completely different story. And then, of course, to see the results of the autopsy that says that she died from a spinal cord injury. So it's been a very tough time. Some days are better than others, but obviously the longer that justice is delayed, it causes more and more frustration for the family.
And, you know, let's say that President Biden, you know, called you or the family of Shanquella on the phone today. What would you say to the president?
We would say to the president that we need you to get the Secretary of State to contact Mexico immediately to either ask for concurrent jurisdiction so that our law enforcement can start their own investigation, or extradite the person named by the Mexican authorities to Mexico so that they can prosecute the person and let them have a trial there.
And anything else we should know about this case and the work that you're doing on behalf of the family?
I think that what the family really, what we've had to battle a lot in this case is misinformation, a lot of misinformation. And so I think it's so important for platforms like the GRIO and factually based journalist organizations. What you guys are doing is so important, which is making sure that the right people that are actually involved in the case, that the facts about the case are getting out. And that's very important to the family because they're not accustomed to being in the public eye. They're not accustomed to having to speak out. They've been thrust into this while they're also grieving their daughter. So having to grieve your daughter, speak up and find resources and ways to find justice for her, and then also dealing with misinformation as well has been very difficult. So we appreciate platforms that are obviously keeping Shanquella's name in the media, but also sharing actual factual information.
Absolutely, I can only imagine. Well, Sue Ann Robinson, Esquire, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.